Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus, and I am the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the blackbraziltoday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So in today's video, I'm going to be speaking about Black Brazilian actress Taís Araújo recalling being eroticized in her first major television role at the age of 17. So, I've known about Taís Araújo for a number of years, and she's spoken very candidly about not only her career but her personal life as well. So I just came across this information a few days ago, and it really has to do with like her first, as the title says, her first major television role. She was 17 when she started this production. So I think, what she said in remembering, how that first television series was filmed, and, just how she felt during the filming of her first major role, it speaks a lot to me about how and what female entertainers have to do to get where they want to go. And it also brings into question this idea of female empowerment. I've read a number of articles over the years, from women's rights activists, feminists. And there's a piece of this argument that I just can't get with. It takes me back to a conversation I was having with a friend of mine some years ago. And what my opinion was then, I still think it holds true. Now, the point here is, whatever topic comes up, people are free to debate, and choose their side of how they feel about a particular topic. In the end, it'll all just show up. In the end, we'll find out who's actually right and who's wrong. So, I can share my opinion in this particular video, and anybody is free to agree or disagree. I mean, none of us really knows when something isn't, it's just very clear, particularly when it's up for interpretation. How do you interpret this particular situation? So I'm going to get into this story and want to know what you think. So before I even get started, if you watched a little bit of this video and you like what you see, you picked up something, you got something to think about, or any of my past videos, be sure to subscribe to this channel, like the video, share the video, comment on the video, push the notification button so that you'll be one of the first to see my videos as I put them up. So with that said, let's get right into this, the new video of the day. So again, Black Brazilian actress Taís Araújo recalls being eroticized in her first major role at the age of 17. So today's video was inspired by two different stories that I learned about this week. First, I became aware of an ad featuring, obviously world-known Queen Bee, Beyoncé, in a provocative ad that, although it came out in August of 2021, I just learned about it earlier this week. I had never seen it before. I don't follow, pop culture as much as I used to, because, when you just kind of figure out what pop culture is all about and how it's weaponized against the global society, then you just see it another way. I don't connect to a whole lot that's going on in entertainment. Like I said, I like to analyze stories when they come out, particularly when they, bring in the race issue. But I don't follow pop culture, on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year basis like I used to. And so here it is. This particular ad came out over a year and a half ago, and I just saw it. But let me continue, and you'll see the ad that I'm talking about. The second inspiration came via a topic I've known about for years, but that the actress featured in the story recently spoke about. The actress is Taís Araújo. She's arguably Brazil's top Black actress, and she has been for a number of years now. I wanted to discuss this because of the subject that brings the two stories together. women's sexuality, specifically Black women's sexuality and the media. I only learned of the image of Beyonce recently via someone's Instagram profile. Take a look at this picture right here. Okay, I'll show the whole picture as we go further down. So looking at the image, the owner of the IG profile simply asked if the photo featured Beyonce or featuring Beyonce was okay, if it will, or if it was just a little too much. The request for opinions was due to the image of the pop singer dressed in the Western themed clothing she was wearing. Now, from what I looked at, what I found in just doing a little bit of research about this particular photo was that she said she was, I don't know, bringing to light the untold story of, Black cowboys. Okay, that's honorable. Of course, there's plenty of Black history, whether in United States, Brazil, or other countries that, is oftentimes hidden. So I can respect that. But then what she's wearing, like, okay, that's how you bring attention to Black cowboys. Okay. There she was rocking denim jeans, a blue shirt with a matching cowboy hat, standing in an apparent barn setting with a background of hay. Now, with just that description, perhaps it wouldn't be such a big deal. But what was eye-catching about the image was that the photo was taken with the singer's back to the camera, with her neck turned back in the direction of the camera. As the eyes gazed down, the sight of the singer's near naked ass peeking out of the jeans became apparent. Okay. So I'm saying, if you guys saw this picture, maybe I didn't see it. I just saw it this past week. I'm just being honest about it. And I researched that this photo came out in August of 2021 from what I saw in the article. And I was like, whoa, okay. So what's next for Miss Knowles? As the area of the jeans were missing the area of the upper thighs and backside, one got a view of Queen Bee's prominent backside on full display, covered only by a thong made of blue jean material as well. I briefly froze as I took in the image. To be truthful, the image wasn't really necessarily shocking, given the fact that Beyonce and too many other female singers have long been known to show off their assets to keep all eyes on them. Okay, so are we shocked by anything that Miss Beyonce does these days? Even so, I still wondered for a few seconds the question of why. Not why in terms of female pop singers. I mean, this is pretty much the norm in today's crazy new world order pop music world. But why in the sense that Beyonce Knowles Carter had been in this game for more than 2 decades when this ad dropped. If the Queen Bey isn't a billionaire by now, she's probably closing in, which is the point that I'm making. Beyonce is no longer the 18-year-old spring chicken singing for her all-female group Destiny's Child. And if she had made such an ad back then as a newcoming singer trying to garner attention as a new artist, I can actually even understand that. It's a dirty game. Somebody's got to do it. This is how you get down in the music in the entertainment industry. Certain things you're going to have to do if you want to get on. So in terms of that rationale, I can actually, I can actually co-sign on that. That, somebody has to make a decision in the beginning. How far are you willing to go to get your name at the top, to have, see your name and all the lights and, get all the money and fame that is possible in today's pop world? You either get in where you fit in, or this is not the world for you. I remember some years ago, like a behind the scenes report on this talented 80s singer named Stacey Lattisaw, and she chose to walk away from the industry when when certain demands were made of her that she was not willing to do just to get on as a singer. So as I'm saying, I can kind of understand if you're trying to get there in the pop world, that's something that you have to sacrifice. Either you choose yay or nay. But at the time of that ad dropped, Mrs. Knowles Carter was actually 39 years old. I think Beyonce's about 41 now. She was already a wife and the mother of a little girl. Now, with all of these titles and a fortune that 99.9999999% of women will never achieve, what is the need to put this type of image out to the world? I already know the answer. The fact is that when men and women reach such heights, they are brands and command a lot of influence in the world. How many young girls and women would be influenced to wear these type of jeans simply because one of the top female artists in the music business did so? And that's just the point. It is because Beyonce is in such a position that her handlers would use her to promote such an image. You want to make something popular with the people? Get somebody who they idolize, respect, or adore, and have them pushing on the people. You know, obviously I've learned about what went down at this last NAACP Image Awards, and the whole spectacle and the speech that Gabrielle Union made. I mean, why? If you're trying to push a certain agenda, you have to use people who can influence other people, right? That's exactly what I get from that. I mean, we see it everywhere. They don't choose celebrities, just because, people want to emulate the heroes. And if you can present the agenda that you want, the perfect people to lead people down that path is with people who they, appreciate. Sometimes it's just simply idol worship. So you see, people may see Miss Bay as a strong, independent woman, but the reality is that Beyonce and artists like her are very much under the control of their handlers, the people behind them. And their fame and fortune is maintained only as long as they follow the instructions they are given. I mean, you don't have to believe what I'm saying. There's been several artists over the years who have spoken about what goes on in the entertainment industry. Bob Dylan and others, many others, have spoken out about this for years. It's one of many dirty little secrets of the music and entertainment industry as a whole. So this is actress Taís Araújo, for those of you who may not be familiar with her. Again, probably arguably the top Black actress in the country and one of the most well-known actresses in general coming out of Brazil. So this brings me to a recent story about Taís Araújo. Again, for those of you who don't know, Taís is one of Brazil's most well-known actresses and a woman of many firsts in terms of Afro-Brazilian actresses. The first Black woman to be the lead in a novella. The first Black woman to be the lead in a primetime novella. First Black woman to do that, to do this, to do that. So Taís has been a trailblazer in the 2 decades plus that she's been in the industry. I often speak of the first time that I saw Araújo in Brazil's only magazine targeted at Black Brazilians, which is Raça Brasil, where she shared a cover with another popular Black actress at the time, Isabel Filarges. This cover came out sometime in the first year of the magazine. This cover came out sometime in the first year of the magazine, which debuted on newsstands in 1996. So this is Taís Araújo here, and this is Isabel Filarges. I think this says year 3. So this is one of the copies of 4 Raça Brasil magazines that I got in my mailbox from, this girl that I met online, and she had already been to Brazil. And at the time, I was planning on making my first trip there. So this was one of the magazines that she sent. While I'm looking at this now, Isabel Filarges has been away from the spotlight for a number of years. She was an actress and singer her and Taís were once the top 2, oncoming, younger faces of Black Brazilian actresses. And Isabel had to step away from the cameras for a while because I know she had a son. I'm not sure if he has autism. He has some type of illness where, he needed full-time, parenting. So she stepped away from, the entertainment business for several years. Then from what I understand, she had some type of illness herself, but I think she divorced her husband. They got a divorce. I don't know who initiated. I'll just say she got divorced somewhere along the way. And I just saw a story today that says she's going to make her appearance in the first novella in over 12 years. Another thing I see from this cover, again, I think this particular issue being year 3 is probably about 1998 or so. And we see that there's a headline here about the famous journalist, Gloria Maria, arguably the most successful Black Brazilian journalist in the history of Brazilian television. And she recently died. I think it was, I'm not sure. I think it might have been in January that she passed away. I did a video about that. Anyway, let's keep this moving. I received that copy of this magazine in the same year in which I made my first trip to Brazil in August, September of 1996. Thinking back to that time, another image of Araújo came to my mind. I was working in a popular midnight. I was working midnights at a popular Midwestern supermarket at the time, and I vividly remember seeing Araújo on the cover of a Spanish language tabloid magazine. The story discussed the hot scenes that Araújo had recorded as the star of the 1996 novella Chica da Silva. So that was the name of the novella. Now, this is another piece of Black history that is, I think it's probably not, a lot of people don't know the story, particularly if you're outside of Brazil. So Chica da Silva is sometimes it's spelled with an X, sometimes it's spelled with a CH. But she was a Black slave who became rich through her relationship with a Portuguese diamond mine owner who was one of the richest men in colonial Brazil. Chica had 13 children with the man, João Fernandes de Oliveira, but he would eventually return to Portugal, taking some of their children with him. Even though he left, da Silva maintained her status. It's saying Chica da Silva maintained her status and was buried in a church upon her death in 1796, a ceremony usually reserved only for white people at the time. Now, this is just a cover of the Chica da Silva film that came out in 1976, and this was starring longtime actress Zezé Malta. I think Zezé will be 79 years old this year, if I'm not mistaken. Just a few scenes from that particular film. Chica da Silva's story has been told in books, novellas, and in the 1976 film starring longtime actress Zezé Malta. In 1996, the film was made into a novella featuring Araújo in the role that Malta had made famous just 20 years before. At the time, the media was all abuzz about how Araújo, 17 or 18 years old at the time, was featured having very explicit sex scenes in the novella. The cover of Interview magazine showed a topless Araújo covering her breast with her arms crossed at the side of the headline, which read, so it says here, Taís Araújo faz 18 anos e tira a roupa em Chica da Silva, which means Taís Araújo turns 18 and takes off her clothes in Chica da Silva. So they were busy hyping up this novella, by presenting her on the cover of her magazine, basically topless. So the actress Taís Araújo, she spoke about this recently, just talking about, there was an article that came out in a particular magazine just recently, and one of the sections about her and her career, it started off talking about her upbringing. She has a Black mother and a white father, how she came into understanding that she was Black for the first time. Then they went into this first television project. I mean, she had tried to break into television. She was one of the few Black girls that was growing up in this particular neighborhood in Rio. It was like one of the ritzy neighborhoods where you didn't find a whole lot of Black people. So she tried to get into the entertainment business. She had been turned down for a couple of roles, and then this role came along. She decided to take it. But then, she had to, obviously you have to read through and see what the synopsis and the plot of the particular production is. So Araújo recounted this period in her career in a recent Instagram post where she opined on a recent magazine article discussing how she was eroticized in the television production. Keep in mind that the novella debuted in September of 1996, about 2 months before the young actress would turn 18, which would happen in late November. Also consider the fact that the actress herself at the time of the series was actually still a virgin. So this is another, set in the 18th century of Brazil. So this kind of explains what the costumes that they're wearing, the big wig. So this is like a promo from the miniseries or novella, Chica da Silva. The Chica da Silva project was to be the first major role of her career. Initially, the young actress had rejected the role for not wanting to appear nude in a television series in front of all of Brazil, and arguably the rest of the world, because global TV, it has, I don't know if they were doing it in 1996, but I know I had Global International when I lived in Detroit, and I could watch global television programming. And from what I know, There's other countries around the world that have access to global television. So it's more than just all of Brazil who probably saw this novella. So she was a little bit uncomfortable with that. She would have to, there would be various nude scenes she would have, sex scenes. But after discussing the topic with her parents, she decided to go forward with the role. So this is Taís in a more recent picture, and this is one of the scenes. Obviously, we're going to block out, her topless, the topless photo. But this is just a still from one of the scenes in the miniseries. So years later, the actress would reveal the conflicts she had with the director of the soap opera, who routinely criticized her. In an interview from 2021, Araújo discussed the situation with longtime actress Zizé Mota, who was the woman who played the role of Chica da Silva 20 years earlier in the 1976 film of the same name. Malta would play Araújo's mother in the novella version in 1996. So this is Zizé Malta. And this is Taís Araújo in the 1996, you could say, remake, from the 76 film to the 1996 remake in the novella starring Taís Araújo. So Zizé was shocked with what Taís revealed and said she didn't know about it. She says that she hadn't felt eroticized when she made the film and that Chica was more than a beautiful woman. She was a woman ahead of her time. For Zizé, many people don't realize her representativeness. They only talk about her eroticism. And some of the articles I've read about Chica da Silva over the years, it always comes out how they say that she became a wealthy mother because of her sexual prowess in the bed. That's basically how they made it sound, as if this was the only aspect of her life. This myth of the Chica da Silva personality is one thing. Black women have long been, typecast according to their sexuality. Like, that's the only thing a Black woman is good for. I always talk about the well-known Brazilian saying that says white women for marriage, mulatto women for sex, and Black women for work. So the women of African descent in Brazil are thought to be good for sex and work. And then you have a film and a miniseries like Chica da Silva, and the eroticization of the history of Chica da Silva, as if that's the only aspect that would give her access to this life of luxury and wealth. Luxury and wealth, going down in history as one of the most famous Black Brazilian women in Brazil. But there was much more to Chica da Silva. But if you just read the headlines and follow the novellas, this is what you come across. This Black woman has got what she got because of her sexuality, basically, is what the image is of Chica da Silva. So this is Taís Araújo again with Zizé Mota. They appeared in the novella together. Here it is, some 20 some years later. Well, actually, it's 96 for about 27 years now. Yeah. So I believe this interview is from 2021, a few years ago. So this is Taís Araújo and this is Zizé Mota, and they're talking about their experiences in the Chica da Silva novella and the Chica da Silva film. And they're just, exchanging their memories. Taís, in turn, explained that she felt that many people erased Chica's importance and legacy just to eroticize the woman. Zizé then remembered that in interviews, journalists and other people always touched on this subject. So this is Zizé Mota in a still from the 1976 film, Chica da Silva. At the time, the novella's directors stated in an interview in 1997 that because of her attitude, Araújo would only be a supporting actress at Global, which was and is Brazil's top television network. Araújo further revealed that she was further criticized by the novella's directors because she refused to do a certain type of sex scene. So listen to what's going on here. It's just like, okay, either you're going to do this explicit sexual, you're going to play this, explicit sex role, on television, or, you're never going to amount to nothing but a supporting actress at Global. So one could look at this and be like, well, it looks like, Taís Araújo kind of traded this off. Like, okay, she agreed to do this. And since then, she's become the top Black actress in the country. So you could say this worked out for her. Again, you can understand how she might have felt. Here it is. She's looking back on this role some 20 some odd years later. And she started filming these scenes when she was 17 and just turning into 18. It was one of the articles that I read. It said that they waited until she turned 18 before they started, asking her to film these explicit sex scenes on film. Um, so, her birthday, I think, is November 25th. So with the novella being released in September, they were just itching to get to her 18th birthday so they could explore these sexual scenes, in front of the camera. So without getting too graphic for the YouTube censors, I'll just say that when speaking of sexual relations, there is what is known as intercourse. Then using alphabets, there is also what I'll call O-sex and then A-sex, if you know what I mean. Araújo refused to do a scene in which the Chica character would have A-sex. When I heard about that, I just wonder, how would the directors make the audience know this was what was going down without actually showing it? Just a thought. This is another post from Taís Araújo's Instagram page. This is her again with Zize Malta. So 2 generations of women playing the Chica da Silva historical character. For the director of the novella, showing an erotic Chica would show a woman who, quote, owned her body. My question here is, knowing what Araújo went through, is public eroticism of women really a demonstration of a woman having ownership of her body and sexuality? This is the same question that I have when I read about sexually explicit lyrics of women funk singers in Brazil and American female rappers. For years, women have argued that boldly displaying their sexuality is a method of empowering themselves as well as other women. I honestly don't get that. Beyoncé is one of the highest earning entertainers of all time, yet she still felt the need to show nearly her whole backside in a blue jean ad. At age 39, with a husband and daughter that looks up to her and millions of girls and women that are influenced by her actions, what part of empowering is this? Male critics of this type of thought have long argued about an apparent contradiction in women fighting for the right for equality, or fight for the right to equality and the right not to be lowered to just their sexuality. But what does this tell us when one of the richest women in the world, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, conquers the entertainment world and still feels the need to show off a body that one would assume would only be for her husband's eyes? On the other side, nearly 30 years later, Araújo knows that her nude scenes and her nude images and sex scenes in that Chica da Silva novella will be available for the whole world to see with just a keyword search. Of course, Araújo went on to become one of Brazil's top actresses, so perhaps it was worth it. This also speaks to unwritten rules of what women have to do to succeed in the entertainment business. It doesn't really make sense to me. On the one hand, Araújo chose not to do certain sex scenes, but she did agree to do other sex scenes and appear, nude, which in my mind opened up doors for her career. Beyoncé is a much bigger star, and she freely chose and continues to choose to display her sexuality. Again, I will point out here that I don't believe the choices of entertainers are all of their own doing. Beyoncé is in the position she is in the music business because she has played the role that she was given. Numerous entertainers have spoken out over the years about what goes on behind the scenes in the entertainment business. And one either does as they're told, making a lot of money along the way, or they lose everything up to and including their very lives. Do you really need more proof of this? In the former case, perhaps Araújo felt the need to agree to certain sexual elements of the novella to get her career started. But if a woman reaches the status of a Beyoncé and does something similar, doesn't it kind of defeat the purpose of saying it is empowering or that a woman owns her own body? I don't know. Critics often argue that when a woman wants to fight for the rights she believes she doesn't have, one of the first things that comes off is her clothing. We've seen this in a lot of women's march rallies. You see it in various countries around the world where, okay, we're marching for women's rights, so let's take our clothes off. I remember seeing an old episode of Sanford and Son, and they were like making light about that. How many of you remember the episode where Grady was like, look at this news, the story about, these women are burning their bras in a public place. You remember that? That was kind of funny. Anyway, Same thing we're talking about now here in 2023. So it seems to me that whether coerced into showing her sexuality or choosing to do so by herself, uh, the result is still a naked woman. The same woman who doesn't want to be reduced to her body parts. Women's rights activists will always argue that it makes a difference when a woman is coerced into displaying her sexuality versus her choosing to do so. Really now. So looking at this photo again, let's assume Beyonce was told to strike this pose in this photo. Now, looking at the same photo, let's assume Beyonce chose to show off her assets. In the second case, this suddenly becomes empowering when women don't want to be known for just their sexuality. It's the same picture. So if Beyonce made the choice or if someone made the choice for her, the picture is the same. Taís Araújo fought with directors against a certain type of sex scene, which tells me she didn't want either the character or herself as an actress to be presented in that manner. But if she had been the one that decided that she would do that scene, suddenly would that same scene become empowering? Make this make sense for me. Something just doesn't seem right with this train of thought, but maybe I'm the one tripping, right? Anyway, I'm going to leave this article here. I'm going to close out my video here. Curious to know what your thoughts are. You know that I brought this piece to you. I tried to tie it in with another story that you might be familiar with, but you know, Taís Araújo is somebody that I've talked about a lot on the blog for a number of years because she is one of Black Brazil's biggest stars. But, you know, she's been very candid about her career over the years, and she's become, you know, quite more the Black activist in recent years. And there's a lot I could say about Taís. So I just wanted to, she was named one of the most influential persons of African descent some years ago. And in her travel to the United States, she ended up meeting, forming a friendship with Viola Davis. She met Denzel Washington. So Taís is blowing up. You know, she's in her I think she's about 44 now. You know, I think she was about, like I said, she was about 17 when she came out, and her star has just exploded. So just a question of, you know, what does it take for a Black woman to make it in the, and not just Black women, just women in general. What does it take to make it in the entertainment industry as a woman, right? So anyway, hope you like this piece here. Definitely consider subscribing to the channel. You know, share your comments in the comment section. You know, like this video, share it, subscribe, push that notification bell so you'll be alerted when I put up new videos. And with that said, I'm gonna close this video out and invite you to come check out my next video.